What is up, guys? As I'm sure you guys know, my video is out late because I hate 1093 because they dodged 2489 and I scripted, I was editing for 2 hours of video that was coming out today. Mid edit, I get pinged that 1093 is dodging us. Completely mental. Mental. Like the audacity of 1093 to just dodge 2489. I mean, I was excited. I had resources. I had aura. Like it was going well for me. I was getting views. But then a kingdom that claims that they don't dodged us. Now, for all those 1093 players that are in the comments right now or else disliking the video, I do have something to tell you.
Yeah, unfortunately, brother, you have been clickbaited.
Because in truth, no one dodged anyone in this KvK pop-up, and we'll explain why. But to start with all that drama, we have to understand what was going on. So in this KvK pop-up that just went down, you had some insane kingdoms that were able to register. You had 1093, 2489, 2377, 1818, 1981, 1316, 1789, 2563, 2218, and just a load of other high A to silver imp kingdoms. Now, the Rise of Kingdoms community, especially the Imperium community, has been waiting for 1093 and 2489 to face each other because of the massive migration that 2489 has gotten. Meanwhile, 1093 is undoubtedly the best kingdom in Rise of Kingdoms right now because 2489's migration hasn't been tested yet. And this is where the problem lies because the Rise of Kingdoms community has a expectation of 2489 to just do whatever you need to do to fight 1093. No matter what, we just want to see 1093 versus 2489. And guess what? All of the fighters want that. All of the 2489 players want that. Leadership wants that. But you have to understand that you can't go into a KvK and not be 100% certain that it's going to be a fun, great KvK for the players. And before I go into more explanation, I just need to say that I am not leadership. I am an A-tier content creator in terms of King Schmuck's standards. I have no idea what we're doing. I literally just got VIP 18. I'm a leech. I'm dead weight. I suck at this game. Like my opinion doesn't matter. And I just rage baited all of 1093 for the first minute of this video. So I think my video is already a success, truthfully. But on a serious note, looking at this KvK pop-up and looking back at it now, I do have a couple of mixed feelings because my expectation was going into KvK and fighting 1093. I was prepping for it. And yesterday when Mao, one of our kings of 2489, came out and said that we were skipping this KvK and listed off reasons, the message itself, I want to say to Mao, wasn't the best. It doesn't really explain the entire positioning, but at the same time, the reason why it wasn't the best message ever is because it was more of a simple, basic reasoning for why they wanted to skip, because there are way more complex reasons for what they want to skip. And I'm not here to leak what truly went down because honestly, on one hand, I have no idea what actually went down. And second hand, I have nothing to leak. And if I had a third hand, I'm not Fort Legion or Popa Boba, and I'm not the Bay Harbor leaker, okay? Like, I can't get in trouble. I'm not the Bay Harbor leaker. I just want to rage bait an entire community for clicks, and we'll see if that worked out. But if it did work out, my entire comment section will probably be filled with people that didn't watch past 1 minute because I fail to remember that this generation doesn't have a good attention span because of TikTok. But anyway, I digress. Now, looking at the KvK pop-up, some of the reasons why 2489 could have skipped past, the basic words that Mao released is because of the KVK modes. Now, you had Heroic Anthem, Storms of Stratagems, and Troy. Now, firstly, Heroic Anthem was never going to work because Heroic Anthem was the pioneer event for the rest mode, which, let's be honest, no Imperium wants, especially 2489. We do not want that. I don't want that. And you could chalk it down to pilots, but I mean, let's be real. Every kingdom uses pilots. No one wants that. Even if you don't use pilots, not necessarily you want that in Imperium KvK, especially going up against 1093 where they have 2 times your members is not the best looking, especially in a pioneer and early on experience of the rest mode. So HA was just never going to work. Then you had Troy and Storm of Stratagems. Now, the reason why, and in my opinion, the reason why Troy was never going to work is 2 main reasons. The simple and most basic reason is that Troy is a mess right now. There are a lot of bugs and issues that are in the KvK. You can see that from any Troy KvK currently. And also the biggest reason that no one seems to be talking about is that a 4-camp map for KvKs, especially in terms of Imperiums, is completely boring. Now, there's 2 reasons behind this. The major reason is that you don't get 2489 and 1093 to fight against each other. You look at the 606 KvK, you see 606 on the top and 3308 on the bottom, and they won't fight until Kingsland. That is boring. Now, you won't have a 1 versus 3 because of the other kingdoms, but then let's be realistic. You're going to have most likely 1818 and 2377 in a map and opposing camps. So they're going to be the main leaders of their camps. And people could call it pre-allying, where everyone was saying that 1818 and 2489 was pre-allying. But let's be real, chat. There is no possible way that 2377 and 2489 was going to ally. I just don't see it. Not 1093 and 2377 was always going to be allies. And that's just simple logic, right? It's just simple logic. They were always going to ally. So of course, 1818 and 2489 was their ally. Like, simple logic. You don't really need a brain to understand that. At least in my opinion. But what that meant was that the only fights until Kingsland would be Zone 5, as past 7 is completely boring, altars are completely boring. And Zone 5 would have been very quick and not much of a fight that many players would think, because let's be honest, 2489 is just a walkover 2377. And so that means that it's basically all or nothing in the Kingsland, which I don't know about you guys, but going against 2377, their campmate, and then 1093 in just a Kingsland, I mean, at best, I would say it would probably be a couple days. No idea how that Kingsland would have worked out if that would have been the case. But at the end of the day, that's not necessarily a fun KvK, nor is it very fun to try to ally, especially with 1093. But then you have Storm of Stratagems, which is a 6-camp KvK, which is so much easier to balance. And historically speaking, 6-camp KvKs come where the 2 biggest kingdoms are next to one another. So you have fighting right away. Now, I have no idea why we didn't go into Storm of Stratagems instead. I just have the basic reasoning, which is Mao's announcement that it didn't have sufficient amount of kingdoms and it collides with Christmas. So my idea with this is that the kingdoms that were going in this pop didn't want to go into stratagems because of Christmas timing, which is totally understandable. But many just didn't want to swap to Storms of Stratagems, which kind of sucks for us because a 6 map KvK would have been way better. And I think there would have been no avoidance of this KvK, no protest of going into this KvK from any of the big kingdoms. But you didn't have that. So with, I want to say 7 hours before reset, 2489 said that they will not go into KvK and listed off their basic reasons. I talked about this, but my biggest thing is that you have 2 points of conflict, right? You have 1093 that for months now have said that they will go into the first pop-up, and then you have 2489 that said they will go into Troy. But in a sense, that shouldn't matter because 2489 was pretty confident they'll go into Troy after talking with 1093 or else just internally. They decided that is a bad choice. So I don't understand why you would hate 2489 on that. If leadership determined that it was going to be a bad choice for the kingdom, then respect that, right? Like, I respect Mal Eva's Arvix's decision, and I was at first really upset that we're not facing 1093, but using logical thinking after hearing them speak in voice chat, I completely agree, and I think many of our fighters in 2489 completely agree. But on the other hand, you have 1093 that wants to fight 2489, but doesn't show that they want. 2489 has said, we're going into next pop-up because Siege of Orleans is going to be there. 100% Siege of Orleans will be there. So it offers better matchmaking, and it's a better KvK in general, and timing-wise for a 6-map camp. But 1093, despite this, just didn't want to follow us. They want to take their chances on potentially going into another farming KvK. But at the same time, it won't happen. 1093 will not go into KvK because there's not another golden imp. Now, I'm going to say this and they will go into KvK and people will be like, ha, ha, ha. But you need 2 gold imps, and there's not a second gold imp that went into their pop-up or even in this KvK pop-up in general. 2377 is closest, but they are miles off of being a gold imp. So that's basically what happened, and we're going to see what matchmaking leaves us in terms of what 1093 is going into and how they will manage their boring KvK if they manage to go into one, and then 2489 what we're going to do if 1093 goes off the board. But the main thing is that in my eyes, I want 2489 versus 1093. I think everyone in the community wants it, but there are some unrealistic expectations for 2489 to just do whatever the community wants or do whatever is deemed upon them and just face 1093 no matter what. But there's more to this game. There's more to running a kingdom, and there's more to understanding the actual players in your kingdom. And I guess we'll find out what consequences and benefits there were here in a week. But honestly, I believe that this is a very good move by 2489, and I'm excited to go into Siege of Orleans next KvK pop-up, if that's what they deem to go into, because they could be going into Tides, they could be going into any other KvK mode. I have absolutely no idea, but at the end of the day, 2489 didn't dodge, and we're going to be waiting for a very fun KvK in the future. So stay tuned. My second account did go into KvK yesterday, so we still have quite a bit of fighting content throughout the December month. So stay tuned. Much love and goodbye. And I hope 1093 got rage baited. I really do. We'll find out together, won't we?